Welcome back to the channel, and we will get right into this one. Spain has just put Saudi Arabia away 4-0, and it was an imperious performance by the Spanish. They started out with their star player, Lamine Yamal, back in the lineup. Coach Luis de la Fuente, he rang the changes for this one after their disappointment against Cape Verde. He brought in Yamal, Dani Olmo, Alex Baena, and Pedro Porro. And he dropped Fabian Ruiz, Ferran Torres, Gavi, and Marcos Llorente, who all started the first game. And Spain came out of the blocks flying. And it was no surprise when they got on the score sheet in the 10th minute. Mikel Oyarzabal pulled the ball across goal, and Lamine Yamal was able to slide in his first World Cup goal at the back post, and it was Lamine Yamal. One goal on the board, Spain one goal up, and that was the beginning. It did not get any better for the Saudis. They were crammed into their final third pretty much from kickoff, and that's the way it stayed until the 20th minute when Mikel Oyarzabal, he duly made it two after sound work inside the box. Saudis failed to clear their lines after a corner kick, and the ball eventually found its way to Oyarzabal, and he side-footed it with the outside of his left foot past goalkeeper in the Saudi goal. 3 minutes later, Oyarzabal was at it again. The ball played to the back post to Cucurella. It was very good work by the Spanish. They played this one pretty good. The ball movement was excellent. Eventually played across to Cucurella at the back post. He headed it inside the box to Dani Olmo, who headed it down to Oyarzabal, and he took it on the volley, and that was his second goal, and Spain were 3-0 up, and that was 3 minutes before the hydration break. The hydration break came around, and it was a godsend for the Saudis because it really stopped that relentless Spanish attack for at least those 3 minutes. But after the hydration break was up, it was back to business as usual. Spain were all over the Saudis. There was pretty much no tactic on the Saudi part except to try and get all 10 men behind the ball, and the Spaniards were left with the entire field to play. All 10 Spanish outfield players were camped out in the Saudi half. The ball kept moving from side to side, down the line. It wasn't the tiki-taka that we are used to from the Spanish, but they did manage to move the ball around with ease. The Saudis were really no threat. They didn't come across they didn't threaten the Spanish final third until the 33rd minute when they finally got the ball into Spain's 18-yard box, and it was easily cleaned up. And that was not any threat. The Saudis, as I said, they were not very good today. Didn't do much in attack. They looked very shaky and not lacked composure in defense, and that is why they conceded the first two goals so easily. And in minute 35, Mikel Oyarzabal got his second and Spain's third, and that pretty much ended the game for Saudi Arabia, and it also seemed to have ended the game for Spain because that's the way it stayed until halftime. And at the halftime break, Coach De La Fuente, he pulled out Yamal and Oyarzabal, and he brought in Yeremy Pino and Ferran Torres for the second half. That showed you that he was thinking of future games. Yamal, as we all know, is coming off a hamstring injury, not fully 100%, I would think. And De La Fuente just decided he would not take any chances with him. Oyarzabal had gotten 2 goals. Confidence is high. No need to take any chances with him either. And so he pulled them out and brought in 2 players who also had played in the first game. And you could see that they were just going to accept the 3 points, not overextend themselves. If they are going to get to the World Cup finals, they do have a lot more games to play. And so you want your best players in pretty good form if you are going to do that. And so that is how the second half got on. The Saudis also rang the changes in the second half. They brought on Alamdan and Kano, and they took out Al Jawar and Al Khaibari. But it didn't take long for Spain to get on the score sheet in the second. Cucurella's volley at the back post was blocked by goalkeeper away, but it ricocheted off Tambakti and it went straight into the goal. And that was the own goal for Saudi Arabia and the fourth goal for Spain. And that pretty much sealed the deal. At the 60th minute, Olmo and Bena were brought off and they were replaced with Mikel Merino and Nico Williams. And the quality that Spain has available to them was clearly a challenge for the Saudis. They were able to take out those players and still bring in players of the quality of a Mikel Merino and a Nico Williams. And the game kept going in one direction. The Saudis pretty much had no answer today, and they had nothing to offer in terms of attack for themselves. And so that was how Spain wrapped up their first win of this World Cup, and they'll be looking to kick on from here. And the Saudis will have to revisit the drawing board, see where they can make some changes, and or they could just write this one off as one of those days at the office and kick on with it. But De La Fuente and the Spanish will be very happy with today's performance. They did what they set out to do, which was to get 3 points first and foremost, but also get some goals on the board, having not scored in their first game, and they did just that. And so until we do this again, have a good one and keep playing.